It's 25 to 9 now. A high-level delegation from Pakistan is in London this week to call for more help from global powers in resolving key issues between it and India. Last month, you remember the two sides spent several days firing on each other with missiles and drones as tensions rose again before eventually being calmed with the intervention of the US, the UK and others. It was one of the worst bouts of fighting between India and Pakistan, two of the world's nuclear powers, in decades. Well, joining us in the studio this morning is Bilawal Bhutto, former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, now chairman of the Pakistan People's Party. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. What kind of assistance, and I suppose how much assistance, are you wanting from other nations to actually mediate between Pakistan and India?
It's not so much about mediation. Pakistan is absolutely pursuing peace in South Asia, peace with India through dialogue and diplomacy. And we've achieved a ceasefire as a result of the role played by the international community. And I believe now also the international community needs to play its due part in encouraging India and Pakistan to have a meaningful, comprehensive dialogue that encompasses all issues that affect one another, whether it's terrorism, whether it's Kashmir, whether it's water. We believe that dialogue and diplomacy is the solution. There's no military solution to terrorism or any of the other challenges that we face.
So how can other members of the international community, how can they practically facilitate that? What would you like them to do?
Well, there are a couple of ways. So as far as the United States is concerned, as part of our achieving this ceasefire, it was agreed at the time that going forward, we would have a dialogue at a neutral location covering all friction points. As we can see from Indian leaderships and governments' statements, they clearly, let's say, are not conducive to such a process. We still believe that the United States and other allies can engage with India as a friend and explain to them that these decisions are not in their interest. Similarly, here in the United Kingdom, you have a long history with India and Pakistan. Kashmir is the unfinished agenda of partition and forms a root cause of our conflict. Your government too is well placed to speak to the Indian government as a friend and explain to them that refusing to engage with their neighbor for two nuclear-armed countries to have no dispute resolution mechanism is not in anybody's interest. We've achieved a ceasefire, but we're yet to achieve peace. And actually, India, Pakistan, but by extension the entire world, is a less safe place today than before the conflict. Because what we've done is we've lowered the threshold for full-on military conflict between India and Pakistan. As things stand today, if there's a terrorist attack anywhere within India or Indian-occupied Kashmir, proof or no proof, we go to war. That's not a tenable situation.
The proof that you talk about there is an interesting facet of this, because on both sides, often accusations are made without proof, evidence often being made available to the outside world. Would that help things if more evidence was put out there in support of some of those accusations?
I believe absolutely you can't just become judge, jury and executioner. I mean, in this particular case, there's absolutely no evidence linking this terrorist attack to Pakistan.
Which one? Remind us which one you're speaking about.
In April in Pahalgam, in Indian-occupied Kashmir, there was a terrorist attack. India blamed that on Pakistan without providing any proof to us, their own people, or the international community. To this day, they cannot name a single terrorist that was involved in that attack. This is one of the most militarized zones in the world. Surely they'd be able to tell us where these individuals entered from, where they are today, what sort of action is taken against them. If they did come from my country, for example, surely they have intelligence from exactly where they came from. They should share that with us so we could act against them or these groups. But none of that has happened.
Part of the difficulty is that Pakistani officials, some of them in the past, have acknowledged previous links with terror groups, and that's what complicates the issue.
I don't think that's actually what complicates the issue. I think that's a purposeful obfuscation of the facts. The reality is absolutely during the 1980s, not only Pakistan, the entire international community didn't call these groups terrorists, they called them the Mujahideen. Ronald Reagan called them the moral equivalent to the founding fathers. That's their history. But Pakistan has worked with the international community to combat terrorism, both domestically within Pakistan and internationally. We thwart terrorist activities through our cooperation with MI6, through our cooperation with the CIA. We thwart terrorist attacks within the international community.
Yeah, similarly, though, it does work on both sides, because there was an attack 3 weeks ago on a school bus, and Pakistan said that India had been involved in that without similarly
Actually,
providing
thank you so much for
evidence.
bringing that up. You're so absolutely right. Pakistan has a laundry list against India. India itself, in the joint communique between their prime minister,
But on the point of providing
I
evidence,
promised you, we absolutely have the evidence. I'm getting to that. India, and the first evidence is that India has admitted to this. They refuse to admit it now, but in the past, the joint communique between the two countries from Sharm el-Sheikh.
But now we're talking in the past. This is the thing for this particular. I have to press you because time is short.
Okay, so the groups involved in these are called the BLA and the Majid Brigade. India has admitted in the past to supporting these groups. We caught in 2016, the most sort of visible proof in our hands, in our custody, is an Indian naval officer who was caught in Balochistan, engaged in supporting these factions. As far as this particular attack is concerned, I myself provided the dossier to your government, to the United Nations, that shows.
So there has evidence. There has been evidence provided. You're saying.
The point is, we can continue finger blaming each other, or we can coordinate. India can address our concerns. We're more than happy to address India's concerns. Okay. We believe that we're not the caricature that India paints of us. Okay. Pakistan has combated terror. In fact, recently...
We need to leave it here, only because time is against us. I apologise, but thank you so much for coming in, Bilawal Bhutto, who's chairman of the Pakistan People's Party. Thank you.